Good morning and welcome to 2020 Insight for Architectural Millwork. We're going to try to show you some ideas to streamline your processes from the concept to the closeout. I'm Ed Sorensen, a pre-sale specialist for 2020 in North America, and I come to 2020 new on board, but sat at your side of the table for nearly 20 years. Been a user of the software and many other types of software for manufacturing execution systems. And I am thrilled to be able to show you the software for architectural millwork. So, as again, welcome. 2020 Insight is a hub for all the stakeholders to leverage data throughout the entire project lifecycle. Our presentation will cover some of the industry-specific functions of bidding, engineering, purchasing, producing, installing, and costing. And as you can see by the photo, we got the tools. We're going to talk about creating estimates today, managing those projects, and managing the sales order themselves, including change orders, warranty, rejects, any kind of quality issues. We're also going to go through and briefly talk about automated engineering and engineering specials. We then will also go, after the work is done, we're going to talk about our planned resources and how we're going to schedule production. We'll take a brief look at purchasing and inventory, and we'll take a look at our new web-based browser for running the shop floor. It's pretty slick. We also will, if we have time, we'll get into our manage and installation software, and that's for service order management. It can be both internal for departments, or you can use it out in the field as it's designed to be mobile and talk back and forth with photos, videos, voice recording, notes, getting right back to the plant. We'll also even take a look at shipping, and we will maybe touch base on the business intelligence side. So, get started with, we've got prospecting. The executives team is asking if we got the capacity, and operations is saying yes. Estimating is saying yes, and engineering is saying yes. Not an infinite, but close on the amount of variables supporting that yes answer from all the stakeholders. So let's take a gander at why we here at 2020 Insight can say yes too. So we're going to go live and get ready. Hold on. We've got quite a few screens to go through, and we're going to go live into the software itself. So as the screen comes up, what we've done is opened up a form inside of our solution, and this form would be typically used by the estimators. This is a bid form where we've a bid number, a description, the bid type. You can have different types of bids, and then we've roughly thrown out a start date and an end date for kind of a smaller project, just to show you some of the ideas behind it. So the submitted date is the submitted date for the plans. We got spec plans. We have the plan date itself, close date, close the end of the delivery outside, and we have and win probability, plan quality. These features are all also, these are known as attributes, and we can add your attributes to this field. Let's talk about the bid structure itself. In the bid itself, we start off with that actually after the private type, and basically at this level, it's gathering all the info that goes into the bid itself. So it's rolling up the cost. Or in this case, as we go down to a grouping level, we can cascade values down into to the quote. So at the estimate level, we have the quote where we're adding our products and services. For example, we'll take a look at inside the quote and how it's structured. So we can add group specifications to the top level, so all the products underneath get the group specification. You can create feature sets. So if you need to do this across many layers of the project, you can assign a feature set to this project. As an order comes through, then all these values are cascaded down into the products themselves. So if you have some cabinets, you can control door style. I'm going to go ahead and open this up just a little bit. We can control the width, height. We can have custom width, custom depth. The door styles themselves, they can be modified from maybe a stile and rail type door to a slab. We also can control the drawer style, the species upgrade. So if we have different species, we can have upgrades for those. And so these all affect the pricing at the end of the day for this cabinet. So as you can see on the pricing of this, we just have a base product price. So a little bit further, we've got a countertop that we've put in as well. So we can, again, assign width, height, and depth to that. And then a thickness for the 3cm product. And then we have a slab-based countertop with gray. So we can have different colors selected. We have materials, shapes, finish, and even go as far as putting in a sink. Now, this particular model is what we call an engineered model, and there is no there's no modeling behind it. So what it is a fixed build that actually can be configurable to these different features and options that hit against it. So the one product that says countertop configurable is what you all the features and options that you put against it. Next, we have what we call the schedule of values. So we're actually assigning an estimated amount of how much hours it's going to take to do this job from soup to nuts. So from all the way from doing the cabinets to the quote, all the way to the specialty. So in the pricing, you're going to see we have a price rule against each of the departments within the company. So we have pre-con, submittals, machining, and so on and so forth. So each one of these are getting a percentage value of those 10 hours. And we call those price rules. And we write those against, and there's a formula driving that. So whatever the hourly price of the department is, then we multiply that by a fraction of those 10 hours to get the base value cost. Now, this is just one of many different pricing schedules or pricing schema that you could go into. We could go as far as perhaps having AWI premium grade economy custom, and we could have values that go against those and create price rules for that as well. We also where we can get an RFQ for subcontractors for perhaps once it comes in, so we can enter that value in. So once the price is returned, we can enter the value. And that was the same thing with specialty, where we could be looking at perhaps some stainless steel doors wrapped, or perhaps some metal work that needs to be done. So this is kind of the outline structure of the bid. And now what I'm going to do is I'd like to show you another bid that's a little bit more mature. of a sample condo. So this bid has multiple levels. And so we have products going underneath, and we have a naming description. And then we've gone as far as put that description here. And then we add the feature sets. And so a feature set's going to be that PL1 that I mentioned that has all these colors assigned to it. Okay. And then as we look at the estimate, we can see the lines of the products that are inside. And the costing has not came back, but we do have a unassigned amount for a schedule of values. This was an early bid sample, but what we're trying to get across here is we can copy bids, and we can, when we have like rooms, we can separate, and each one of these can be tracked by themselves. So room by room, suite by suite, we can track these. And then as rooms become the same, we can copy those into other locations within the building and use them as reference. So you can update one estimate and have it cascade and take care of the references in others. So we see a lot of speed there. And I just wanted to share this one with you. So let's move on to what it looks like in the project world. So over in the project world, you'll notice I've got a couple of versions of the bid here. I've had the first bid that went out, and I named it version 1 for the project. And then I did a second bid where I did some value engineering, and I came up with a version 2. So you can keep track of your projects by versioning, and then once you win the project, you can make that a solid number like 2120 for the project for itself across the board. After the bid has been won, contract's been signed, or the LOI has been obtained. So underneath the project itself, I wanted to show you what it looks like when you send it on over. So you can start to see that each order line is going to have a product or one of those venues associated with it. Okay. And there's plenty of other things that go with the project. We have the addresses for the project. We can have contacts, the feature sets. Like I mentioned, we had the Wood 1 Premium Alder Shaker. You can see the status of where we're at this bid. So we are tracking everything from the initial bid request to preparing, to submitting, and then to receiving the contract. Now, this little flow right here is totally customizable. We can actually go into what we say the business processes and put together a status workflow so these events happen sequentially. After one is completed, the next one goes along. And the next one could go along, and it could have an email attached, and it can give alert, and you can also generate tasks from this as well for other employees in the department. For example, if you wanted to assign an estimator and an estimator's assistant to this project. Moving back, I'm going to go ahead and hit, we're going to move into the sales order as if we've won the bid. And with that, we have that sales order that we looked at. And this is one of the lines. And this particular line has been approved, and we've gone ahead and processed the bill of materials. Okay. So on the address, as you can see, it's going out all automatically filled in because of the customer, and working on your customers, you can really start to build up your CRM data against that. So you have your contacts, your site locations, your ship to, your bill to, and all the addresses that need to go with your customers and vendors. So as we look at this order, I'm going to go ahead and bring this a bit. We can then manipulate what we are seeing here. So we brought over these products. As I mentioned, we had some cabinets and a countertop, and we also had the schedule of values, and so on and so forth. This is available to through available schedule. So that means it's going to create purchasing demand, and it's going to be available to schedule a production order. So I want to go a little bit further into one of these cabinets. We'll just go ahead and take this base 24 that's hooked up to our engineering configurator, and we'll go ahead and take a look at this, and we'll show you what the output of the bomb structure looks like. So from here, we'll take a look at that bill of materials for this particular cabinet. And you can see we are at the top level of the cabinet, and we're bringing across the finished dimensions of the cabinet and what it's tied to, and the materials. We're going to go for the route. So we're going to, and then we're going to case assemble and load on a truck. That again is just a sample routing. Of course, there could be more steps involved, maybe packaging, so on and so forth. So from the cabinet level, we're looking at the cost that rolls up to what we're expecting. We had a net price. We have run labor that's tied to the work centers. We have the setup labor, material, and we have the variable overhead and fixed labor overhead. So altogether, we get this total cost, and we have the differential, which makes our margin. So not too shabby there. So we're also creating graphics along the way on these items as well. So not the best graphics on the planet for that particular label, but that might be due to the internet and all the different views that show. So images are generated real time against the data, so you can use them on labeling and assembly travelers, and even pick tickets, or excuse me, not pick tickets, but shipping tickets as well. Under resources, this is the resources that that we need to account for this particular cabinet. So all of them are being listed: hinges, dowels, screws, poles, plywood. You can see most of this, well, all of it in this case, is out of stock materials. So these are being pulled from a stock location and fulfilled that way. So there's inventory is not going to be here because we're not going to have any transactions to go from one plant to another. But if we needed to pull melamine from another location, if we were storing probably sheet goods at another warehouse, then you could pull them from one to another. Schedule. This is an interesting screen that is saying that we need to get started on this right away. And so this has been available to schedule and firm, so we could show this to you in the master scheduling. So that is the schedule. One other thing of note, we are generating CNC in our routing. We're generating wiki code, or CNC for the wiki. We also have a BAC as well, but we also to just about any machine under the sun. So we're generating code on the fly to send to our machines. Then we go to purchasing demand. So we've generated orders. We've got some new orders, and so all those stock items, they're not going to create purchasing demand. So what I've done is just gone ahead and brought some parts and pieces together to show you the ease of creating purchase orders or allocating things from inventory. Okay, so I'm just going to create a purchase order real quick, and by shoving these items over based on the primary vendor, I'm going to go ahead and say yes, I'm going to send a purchase order to the purchasing agent to review and firm. So that was created that fast. And then just for an example, I would like to show you an allocation of a product. So it's what we're doing is allocating it from a stock location. So I've got in plant one in my warehouse, I've got an area for case assemblies, and I'm going to go ahead and pick that and put it into place. So I hit OK. And we're off this list. Again, a list that's telling you you need to act on these dates and then make a purchasing decision. So with that said, moving over to the purchase orders, we just created a brand new one. And so let's go down and take a look at that new PO. And it looks good. It's got everything we need. I'm going to go ahead and say yes. I'm going to grab that number, and we're going to go right into purchase receipts. And so you can get to different forms by hitting Control-G and go purchasing, and it'll automatically call up one of the forms for us. And then I'm going to put that purchase order in here. And it's telling me that this has not been firmed. That's good. So I'm going to say OK. And I'm going to go back to that purchase order. And I'm going to say OK here. And then what I'm going to do is approve it and firm the PO. Now that it's there, I can come back to this. Grab my number, brings it up. I'm going to assign a packing list as I'm receiving it. And these are not all in a ship location, so they're not automatically have a location path. So I'm going to try to receive all, and I would have to assign those to a warehouse location. We're going to go ahead and move on in the master scheduling. And so what we're looking at is a screen that I've dove into and started from Monday and to the end of the month. And we're taking a look at the master schedule here. Okay. So what we're going to do is schedule a production order and show you how that works. And then we're going to see how those numbers affect next week. This week, pretty much tortured the case assembly line, and we were full max at the wiki for the CNC. So let's go to the production order. And I started one this morning. And what I want to do is just take a quick peek at it. All I did was assign my date, and I also assigned what plant it was going to and a batch number. So you can assign a morning batch, an afternoon batch, or 4 batches in a day, or multi-batches. It's up to you on how you'd like to release and create your production orders. So I'm going to say OK. And now that this is sitting here as a new production order, what I'm going to do is go ahead and search for some products. So I'm going to go in these fields. You could type things like today minus 10 plus, I'll just go end of time. So end of time. And then I'm going to go, I'll look for plant 1. So I just want stuff in plant 1. And so I've got some products. I'm going to grab them and I'm going to drop them back in onto the open production order. So I'm going to open it, drop it in. Okay, they're not available anymore. So I hit close. And now I'm going to move this order along to a planned production order. Okay, and so we're going to take one more look at the master schedule. It's planned, and I've got more capacity that I can fill up for next week, but I really overdid it right here. And I'll explain what I can do there in a moment. So back to the production order. I'm going to go ahead and not only am I going to firm it, but I'm also going to release it. I'm going to release it out to the floor. So it's firmed. So my project manager says we're all green, and off to production we go. So with that said, I'm going to move it one last time. I'm going to release it on the production date. Okay, and then we'll take one more look at master scheduling. And I see I've got a big Monday and then a little Tuesday. So I could actually move some of those products by double clicking into the day and moving certain products. So I can perhaps move just a few, and we'll move those in and out. So let's go ahead and put a due date 1 day later, okay? So 1 day, and 1 day later across the board. So we're going to go 9/8, right? 9/8. And say okay. And it's recalculating the demand dates for all the components. And we close this down. And we move this up. And you can see that basically I've gone overboard with my assembly. So it went down from 116 and then went up. So we can modify this as well. Move on, but this gives you a general idea and a feel for it. So you're looking at all your different operations and your capacity from within. So next on deck, I kind of want to go and talk a little bit about our engineering configurator. Our engineering configurator, and we'll go back to their sales order, and just to take a brief look at what this is all about the engineering configurator that we offer. I'm going to go ahead and jump out of that. Then I'm going to do just a little introduction to this, and this is just a concept for designing catalog or layout based products. So you could actually create a product that is a room or perhaps a wall-to-wall base run with the countertop and its casework. So I'm going to bring this on over and I'll explain a little bit further. So what that looks like is a custom cabinet at I could here. I'll edit that. I'll go ahead and put it at 108. And we can do the colors again with the countertop, and that's going to drive, our purchase and our slab. And then we have something where we have this 4-run base of cabinets, and I can control each one of those individual zones of what we say a cabinet zone from left to right. So let's take a look at that cabinet now. And we've got a cabinet with toe kick, a base, and a countertop, a 3cm countertop with a bullnose edge, complete with a subtop and another subtop to make up that odd thickness that we all know about with 3cm. And then wall guide an option to handle. For example, we could have door style. We could have, again, the AWI specifications tied to it, and so on and so forth. So what I'm doing right now is I'm assigning the zones a different layout. So I went ahead and just put a 100 on the outside and a 100 on the other outside. So when we look at this, it's going to generate a cabinet. Okay, so our configurator is based off of AutoCAD 2020. So as you can see, our it's share your doors. You can design rooms. You can import entire rooms. You can modify and manage your articles. We have a library of products that we've begun for architectural millwork based off the cabinet design series. So you can see we have some of the heavy hitters that we're going to see in architectural millwork, and we're starting also, some of the accessories that you need to see. Tiles and wall systems, and we'll also talk about with those wall systems we can have a blocking drawing all tied to this as well. So again, AutoCAD 2020 and a program on top that let's go ahead and I'll just show off just a little bit. This is a room that's been designed inside the software. And we'll take a look at it real quick and see of the room. And this is just a A101 kitchen that we called. And then we have the walls as part of the model. And so this whole thing is flexible. So it's parametric. So once we get our field dimensions in, we're not redrawing things. It's going to automatically have things recalculate. And so I can do things like depth, and the model's parametrically going to change. Okay. And so we also have, a countertop level, and it goes on further down to the casework itself. We have the base assembly, and then we also have the casework that is being divided into zones. Call them zones. So we have a linear division that goes up. We can actually control. See a left filler on the side that actually has the scribe going into the wall, and then the cabinet zones themselves. So these are all variable. So we can assign any cabinet into that zone. I'm going to just go ahead and hit save the changes, and we can see the model regenerate. And there we go. And again, just so for a little background on the variable structure, I just want to take a look at just the article related variables. So if we just open this article or model, you can see all the different variables that we're taking into effect that we can change on the fly. We have countertop specs. We have the configuration where I mentioned that we can change values. So I can put maybe a 100 in there, and I'm just going to hit apply, and you'll see the model change once again. So this is just a real brief look of the engineering configurator and the software behind it. And we are excited. This is brand new that's coming out to us, and we're excited to show this off. Now let's move back over to Insight. And let's go ahead and move on over to shipments. And I've got some shipments that I created, and I just want to explain how that looks. So a shipment, we're actually coordinating the shipment date, the load date, the what type of mode. So you could have, different types of trucks or containers. You have carriers, you'll have those set up. You can have, as I mentioned, different trucks. So if a truck is XY is truck number 4, and it's a van, it's got this weight, what it can have, and then it's also have a volume. Not sure that calculation's all correct. It looks like we might have a metric to cubic foot conversion issue there. On a shipment, it's actually going to put in the stops for you. So as it's tied to the customer, you have the site or the ship to address that's automatically coming with it, with the product that it's assigned to. And so again, then you have the items themselves of what we're shipping. Okay, we're sending out the stone. We've got the subcontractor do that. We have our cabinets, and then you can see the status again of the shipment. And then at the end, we can actually scan on, scan off, and you will see a scan log of this as well. Okay, so we've gone through all the shipping and through the plant. So the next thing I'd like to show you is our new web-based shop floor solution. So now we're out on the internet and we've signed in, and from an iPad or a smartphone or or even a touchpad out on the floor, you can have these work centers that we're showing here. And of course, they're customizable. These are just samples, but just take a gander at the cutting work orders or the panel saw. So we're going to take a look at the panel saw, and we can see that we had some parts coming through Monday, or actually that was Monday. So you can take parts, and you're going to have a scanner. You can scan. If I hit this right here, you're going to see my beautiful face because it's going to take a picture of me. But you can scan it by hand, and then it's going to move it along to the next work center. Okay, so we're going to take just a couple of these just to show what it looks like. And I'm just going to scan real quick. So we took all from this date, and then once we refresh this screen, they drop off, and they move on to, of course, CNC. So we'll go over to the CNC, and we'll look at the work orders, and you'll see that those just came in today. And so what we're going to do is we can also push those across to the next, and so on and so forth. But as you can also take a look, we can also see that we can kit for assembly. So we're looking at work orders, and these have been released, and we can move forward. And once they're kitted, they're going to show up in assembly, ready to go. Oh, I did want to mention one other thing. Let's go back just briefly to CNC. And I wanted to show you something that's kind of cool. Is we can reject parts. We can reject parts on the fly. So on the screen, you have the opportunity to reject something. So you hit the reject screen, and I got a part that was, that was out of square. And I'm just going to say out of square. Now I've seen it where they've had barcode readers that actually can put that reason code right to it. So I'm going to go ahead and assign a reason code. It's going to be replaced and ask what is out of tolerance, and I'm going to reject it. So it's processing the reject, and then what it does is it moves it back into production to start the cutting all over again. So I just want to show again the rework possibilities. So moving on, the next thing I'd like to show is service orders. So we have some service orders, and service orders are meant for installation, perhaps delivery, can be internal. We can set up, perhaps you have drafting resources, outsource drafting. You can set up a number of things. So I'll go ahead and just run through one that we set up this morning. And I was just checking for engineering capacity. So I created this service order, and I've got my customer, who it is, it's internal. And so I'm just checking my engineering capacity for a job that's coming up. So I'm going to go ahead and I've assigned an engineer or the engineering manager, because this is the skill required to do this engineering capacity check. Okay. So I'm going to say okay, and then I'm going to take this and I'm going to move it right into scheduling. Okay. So I'll go scheduling. And I've got reminders, because I've got a couple of reminders to tell me that some of my tasks are not ready yet. Okay, so I'm late on reviewing these contract documents, okay, in my task management. But on this one for engineering capacity, this is brand new. So how it works is you drop it into play, into your schedule. And I'm getting lots of alerts. That's cool. And then what you do is you drag in the proper resource to be able to do the job. So we're going to be looking for my engineering manager. And there he is, or she. And we can assign a task. And so we've assigned the task, and we'll go ahead and dismiss and get out. Got lots of reminders. So I'm going to go ahead and close out the service scheduling. And now I'm going to take you into the mobile apps that show this on the back end. So I'm going to say, okay, here. Get through all the reminders that I'm late with my contract. And then the next thing what we're going to do is we're going to switch over to the mobile apps. So in the mobile apps, this is not exactly the start of the page, but we have something called services, okay? So we come down to the services, and we have our professionals. These are people that have job, that we can assign tasks to. Then we have the service orders themselves. And you notice that the new one that we just created, it's not there yet because we haven't started it or approved it. It's work ready to go. But you can look at some of these, and you can take, like, for example, this install casework, and we can write notes. We can perhaps there's a change order or RFI, or we can take pictures. We can take photos from the device itself, take the video from the device, do a live shot right now, or pick files and attach them back to the service order, gets back to the manufacturer. Okay? And that's a service order. The schedule, again, you can see the schedule online. You can see that we started to put that little button there for engineering, and it's coming across. So it then says, this is where we're going to stop. And then these icons are actually maps that are tied to, like, your application for either Apple or Google Maps. So we've seen scheduling, we've seen the professionals and the service orders. I've got just a couple of minutes, and I think I'll take you real quick into business intelligence. So one of the other things that we can do is we can carve out any kind of data you can imagine out of our Insight 2020 database. So these are just a couple of just random ideas, and I like this. You can make charts and graph charts, and you can make dashboard items. So for the executive level and for department heads to follow, you can also create charts for perhaps the work centers so they can see where they're at with on-time complete. So there's tracking and time tracking availability with these apps as well. So just to take a look, let's just look at one of these charts real quick. And this is just top customer sales over the past year. And it looks like we've had lots of sample home improvement. And this is just one example of several different types of graphs that we can provide. And with that, there's one last thing, and I just wanted to mention that we have the sales, and we can also excuse me. We can also track and look at every customer order or filter for the ones we want to look for. Excuse me, there's that, and then we can look at the sales history, as I was getting to, is we can grab by customer, by for example, we could by contractor, by builder, by whatever we can. So with that said, we have this sample home improvement, and we can see all the orders that are related to this sample. So we see replacing end panels, and this is then a replacement order that is ready to go and available to schedule. Are there any other notes? We can add notes to this if needed. So that takes me all the way around through the mobile apps, and I thank you very much for joining us. Best regards, and take care.